Hey everybody, and welcome back to Bigfoot Cooking, where today we are making prime rib. That's right, this guy right here, this is the whole prime rib. So if you were to actually get the entire cut, well, you've got enough right here to feed 20 people. Now, I'm not making a dinner that big. I'm actually going to cut this one in half. So that way we're going to do about half of this, because I think this was about 18, 19 pounds. I mean, there's a lot of meat in here in this whole prime rib. Now, when they say prime rib, they're actually talking about the cut of meat. It is the prime section of the rib. This is a choice prime rib, if that makes sense. I mean, you could get a prime rib, but this is already a pretty expensive cut. And that's why I guess we have it more on holidays and special occasions than just Thursday. But it is a really, really good. I mean, it is a giant ribeye steak with the ribs still attached to it. Now, before we get started, let's talk about what I'm going to put on the outside of it, because we're going to actually smoke this guy. We're going to put it in the smoker. We're going to cook it to an internal temp of 120. That will give us a medium rare prime rib, which again is what we're after. And I'm going to use mustard as a binding agent to go around the outside of it. I've got some freshly cracked, about a tablespoon of fresh cracked black pepper. I've got sage, cumin, rosemary, and thyme. I've got about 6 cloves of garlic and about 2 tablespoons of salt. Now, this is coarse salt. You don't want to use the fine table salt, because you can get a little too much on it with just the finer salt. So that's why the coarse is better. So step one, let's slice this guy in half. All right, we've got this behemoth. That's right, big word of the day, behemoth. We got this behemoth out of the cryovac. And as you can tell, we have 7 ribs across here. I'm going to split this one right between these 2 ribs right here. I figure that'll be a good spot as far as like feeding everybody tonight. And then that way, see, I got to record this before Christmas, and then this will be Christmas. Hey, prime rib twice. What could be wrong with that? So let's go ahead and find the soft spot right next to the rib. And I'm basically just going to slice into it and take this guy into 2 still pretty hefty sized pieces. All right. That gives us one lovely looking prime rib right here. And of course this one, well, I'm going to go ahead, I'm going to vacuum seal this one and set it back in the freezer, because like I say, we're breaking this guy out Christmas Day. That's a whole nother subject. Y'all don't get to see that one. This one, we're going to fix today. So let me process this and I'll be right back. All right, so here's what we're working with today. This is a 8-pound, 12-ounce roast. That's right, it's almost a baby boy. And this is going to be some good dinner. Now, there's a couple of different ways that you can actually prepare this. You could do it with the bones still attached to it and just leave it as one big roast. It is a little more challenging to carve up after it's done, because then you're dealing with a hot, delicious piece of meat that you don't want to mess up while cutting the ribs. But in this case, we're going to actually trim the ribs off before we cook it. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to stand this guy up. Look, a standing rib roast. We're going to stand it up, and with these 3 bones right here, I'm going to take the knife and literally go right behind them and kind of hug them the whole way down. And we are just going to trim this guy to get him loose.
Check the mic and make sure it sound right, boys.
And there you have it. A nice set of 3 ribs that, well, they can stand on their own for dinner, that's for sure. But what we're going to do now, we're actually going to take the ribs that we took off of it, we're going to set it back on here, and we're going to take some butcher twine and pull it together. What this will do, this will give you that round, beautiful roast, because the string will help hold it together. And this gives you a chance to actually season a little bit inside the meat. So what I'm going to do before I tie it together, I'm actually going to go ahead and mix up our herbs and spices, and let's get them just kind of into the mix. Let's see, we'll take our rosemary, our thyme, our coriander, our pepper, our sage, and about half of the salt. So basically that comes out to be about a tablespoon of everything. And we'll just give this a quick mix here. Now, we're using mustard as a binder to hold these spices on. And since I haven't mustardized it yet, because, well, it just gets in the way when you tie the strings, I want to go ahead and just season the inside, so that way all of this goodness gets in there. And again, don't be shy about putting a pretty heavy coat of flavor on this thing. Again, this is a giant piece of meat, and the only thing you're seasoning is just the edges once you cut it into your serving size. So Don't be scared to put a little on there. But we've got this, and we've got this. Well, if we put it on the right way. So now, let's get us together some twine. Let's see, we're gonna do us a estimate of how much we need, which will be this, and then add a little to it because it's much easier to have it and trim it than, oh man, I'm too short, you know? All right, so now for this prime rib, I'm actually only gonna use 3 strings. I don't think that I would need much more than that. You could add some if you just like an absolutely locked together perfect one, but 3 right here should do pretty good. We're gonna take our 3, I'm gonna set this on top of the 3, and we're just gonna pull them together. And when you tie them, go under and then go under again. That's gonna give you a little more resistance in the knot, so that way when you pull it up, it doesn't just relax completely like, well, nothing happened here. So we'll give it a big snug, come up, and then tie another knot here. Boom, held together. Let me hit it 2 more times. Right, we're just gonna take our extra little bit of twine here and trim it back. Now, you don't trim it completely flush because you don't want it to come untied while you're doing it. But what this does by pulling it up, see how this has become a lot rounder compared to before when it was laid flat? Yep, that makes a big difference there. Now, we're gonna take our strings and kind of get them into it in a little bit better spot. I don't want it right on the edge because I don't want this thing to bake apart. So now we've got a good tie on it right here. We're gonna start from this end, and this is where your mustard starts coming in. We're gonna go ahead and, like I said, get the binder on there so that way the seasoning can get to it and get the yum yum happening. Now we'll take the rest of the salt that I saved. We're gonna go ahead and put in with the rest of the additives here because, again, it seems like a lot of salt, but I keep reminding you guys, this is a massive piece of meat. This is a prime cut. This is a lotta. So give the mustard a shake so that way you don't get that water squirt. You know what I'm talking about. You grab the mustard, everything goes wrong. No. You want this guy to be right. Just a little extreme non-prejudice here. Get this guy on here because really all the mustard's doing, it's not adding a flavor to it. It's actually just giving a bind so that way you can hold the herbs and everything on the meat. And then with the mustard, well, we just come and add our seasoning to it. Now again, you could season this however you liked. If you wanted a more of a barbecue flavor to it, use a barbecue. But since we're doing this at Christmas, well, we've got more of the Christmas flavorings to it. So we got a good little bit there. Let's stand this guy up. Get the ends, because the ends are always the tough part, you know? And again, because this is a nice meaty piece of meat, well, it'll stand on its own and make life simple for you. And there you have it. Everything is nice and herb crusted and all, but in true, oh, I did something wrong fashion, totally forgot about the garlic. So what we're gonna do, I'm gonna just grab the garlic press here, and instead of trying to mince it up and everything, I'm just gonna crush it through, and we are gonna kind of pat it in everywhere else so that way we get that garlic flavor. So yeah, let me do that real quick. Yes, I would have much rather had it spread out everywhere, but well, sometimes you make a mistake. Now I could come back and add a little garlic powder or maybe even onion powder and kind of do the whole thing up, but honestly, it looks too good. So I'm gonna leave it just like this. All right, now we're gonna let this roast sit here at room temperature, and we're gonna give it about 4 hours to kind of absorb all these flavors and actually warm up some. The reason being is the center of this is still pretty cold since we just got it out of the fridge. And if I put this on the smoker and try to cook it from completely cold to 120 degrees, what's gonna happen is, yes, the center of this roast will be perfect, but the outside of it will go from a medium rare to more of a done almost. You get that brownish instead of being that pretty pink that we're trying to get through the whole thing. So, well, I'll see you guys here in about 4 hours and we'll see how it looks then. All right, now for this, I've got the smoker set to 250. And I hope the sunlight's not washing all this out. I guess I'll find out in editing. But we've got the smoker set here at 250, and that way this thing cooks kind of nice and easy. Again, I'm not trying to do this as a quick cook because it's so big of a piece of meat. We want this your traditional low and slow. So let's go ahead, open this guy up, and make room for the feast. We'll just ease it right in here. We'll leave both probes hanging out the bottom. Amazingly, both of my probes right now are showing that this thing's at 50 degrees. So now, there's nothing to do. You don't touch this. You don't adjust it. You don't play with it. You don't tweak it. You walk away, and when it gets up to 120 in the middle, that's when we'll pull it out. That's it. So guys, well, I guess we got time to kill. So while we're waiting on this, I think this is Benson's last week of vacation. So let's check in with him and see how he's enjoying Florida.
You know, it's horrible when you go on vacation and you look outside and it's nothing but rain and hurricanes. But in truth, the good thing is that I'm not at home. Taking time for yourself and getting away from everything is absolutely worth it. But sadly, I can't get a pedicure here.
So after waiting about 3 hours, the timer finally went off. I hit my 120 degrees. And so it was time to pull it out, right? So I grabbed it, and unfortunately, where I grabbed it just right and slid the crust off the top. I mean, talk about messing up a perfect roast. Oh, it just annoyed me so much. But what we're gonna do, I got my little tent hat right here, and we are gonna set this guy on here. I'm gonna give it about 20 minutes in here to rest. That gives where everything is cooked up, it gives the juices a chance to come back into it, bring up that internal temperature, and get this thing just oh so right. So for y'all, it's been like this. For me, this has been a long 3 hours because I was hungry and I cannot wait to cut into this guy. So 20 more minutes and we are slicing. All right, the big reveal after a very long wait, because I is hungry. And I really wish I wish I would have not almost dropped it. Let's just put it that way. But I saved the roast, it didn't hit the ground. So we're gonna start out, we're gonna flip it over here, and we are going to slice off our binds that hold. Tink, tink, tink. Pull these guys back. And you know, if you had a desire to have yourself some ribs, oh, here you go. Whoever you want, you slice these up, and you got yourself 3 delicious ribs. All right, it's time for the big reveal. Now, let's see if we cooked out like it's supposed to, or if things got a little too done. Let's take a look. Ooh, look at there. That is perfect prime rib. Perfect. Let me slice a little more piece off right here. Get myself a serving because, well, I am a little hungry. Let's see, I'm gonna slice me off a nice big giant bite right here because I tell you what, it smells good, it looks good, really soft and tender to the touch. Let's see how it works to the palate. Oh, my dudes, my dudettes, my, this is awesome. Tell you what, do not be afraid to give this a try to do. I mean, this will set the family right. This tastes really good. And if this don't bring out the Bigfoot in you, I don't know what to tell you, because by now, you all know Bigfoot is real. Y'all take care. I'm chowing down. Now for this roast right here, now for this prime rib, I'm actually only going to use. Now, the weird thing about this is you're going to take this after you cut it off, and we're going to tape it back on. But and there you have it, a nice, lovely herb crusted prime processor. Not my day.